Hello everybody and welcome to Let's Play Dark Souls. I'm your host VGMKoren, and this is one of my favorite games from the Xbox 360/PS3 era. It is a fantastically brutal and dark RPG with tons of customization, depth, and it tells you absolutely nothing about itself, and I really admire the game for that. And in interest of honoring that, I want to tell you as little as possible as we go ahead and get in here. Now, I will be discussing the game at length, but if you haven't seen Dark Souls, it's a lot more fun to just see it than be told about it. Now, as you might notice by my mouse, this is the Prepare to Die edition. I mean, you might have noticed that by the big Prepare to Die edition below the name of the game, but basically this is the PC version with a little bit of extra content added in on it. And of course it requires mods to run at a proper resolution and anything like that, which you can find all over the Dark Souls forums. I won't be talking about it here. So let's go ahead and hit New Game. And when you hit New Game, of course, you come to the Character Creations screen. This is probably familiar to anyone who has ever played an RPG that came from the West. The East, not so much. Actually, this game is from a Japanese developer, so I'm going to shove my foot in my mouth. The class selection is probably the thing that will be most familiar to anyone who's ever played, because it's... Get out of here, mouse. The most familiar thing to, well, anyone. I mean, warriors are warriors. They have high strength and dex. Knights are knights. They have high HP. Wanderers are wanderers. They get to be flashy and jump around and get one shot. Thieves are thieves. They get to be even flashier, jump around, and then die to getting pricked. But they get the Master Key, which we'll talk about later. Also, you might have noticed that this is the guilt-ridden thief. Everyone here sounds like a terrible person, by the way. The Savage Bandit. Bandits, of course, are high-strength, no-survivability warriors. And the bow-wielding... Bows are... I don't like bows in Dark Souls, so we're not even going to talk about that. As the Hunter. Sorcerers use sorceries, which are the basic magic of the game, and something I'll talk about later. Pyromancers use pyromancy, and this is probably the strongest starting class, in my opinion, because of the spell they get. However, I find the game more interesting to start without spells, so we won't be picking that. The Cleric, who casts miracles, which, if you haven't caught on, miracles are the healing nature things. Healing nature spells. I'm sorry, I couldn't go on from that one. And the Deprived is good at being naked. Look at him. Look at his loincloth and club. He knows what he likes. And what he likes is having completely balanced stats, and I believe has slightly more stats. So he's the hard mode of the game because you get nothing, but you end up slightly more powerful at the end of the game. I believe that's how it goes. I actually don't know if anything I just told you about him is true. He actually might have the same stat base. I'm trying to do some math in my head to see if I'm just telling you the wrong thing. No, he's got slightly... Wait, no, he's level 6. Yeah, okay. He's completely normal. I lied. I'm sorry. You're going to have to forgive me. So, anyway... Dark Souls. We're going to go ahead and be a knight, because knights are extremely good for displaying the type of gameplay that this has. They're very balanced in strength and dexterity and faith. And as we come to a close in the class selection, I just want to say that none of this matters at all. No matter what class you start out as, you can put your points wherever you like, learn whatever you like. This is just a template for your character. It's more what your starting armor is than anything else. Now, the gift is exactly the same way. You can pick up all of these items through the game. The Goth's Blessing restores your HP, bombs are bombs, humanities are, ooh, spooky. Humanities do things. Binoculars are binoculars, which let you look through them binocular style. The pendant does nothing, but it did troll the entire player base for a year because the game developer said that it did something and lied and admitted he was trolling the internet when he made it. He's a terrible person who told everyone to start with it. It does nothing. The Master Key is, in my opinion, hands down the best item. The thief starts with this, so if you want to be a thief, and you want 2 gifts, then perfect for you, you can have that. The Master Key will unlock a lot of doors that otherwise you will have to find the proper key for. And there's nothing more fun than sequence breaking, walking in on something that can one-shot you. It's probably what we'll be taking, but I do know the game, so we probably won't. The Tiny Beings ring is also a troll item. It says it recovers your HP slowly, and it is a lie. This only increases your max HP by a small amount. It does not recover your HP. Do not take it. The Old Witch's ring has a couple of effects in-game, but they're best talked about when it's time to talk about them. So we're going to go ahead and start with the Master Key because it's useful, make ourselves slim like I am in real life because I'm hot. We're going to be a noble because I'm hot. Okay, I'm going to stop that before anything else. Take the semi-long squall black hair and make it red. And we have our character. As you might have noticed by putting on that derpy helmet, we now doesn't matter at all what we made our character look like. But we have our character, so let's start the game.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bolts peeled apart their stone scales. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath, the scales, betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers. And man sees not light, but only endless lights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side. Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
And I hope you liked that cutscene because it's the only one in the game. Welcome to Dark Souls. The first thing you do is pillage a corpse. Which really, isn't that what we always want to do in games? And this is the Dark Souls tutorial, notorious for killing many people. So the right stick will control the camera. Yes, I am using the a gamepad for this because the keyboard controls are terrible. Right bumper attacks, which is an odd choice and the only game that does this. Right trigger is your strong attack, which means we throw our little sword hilt with more gusto. And of course you can dash, which is great, and slow. Actually, that's because we're wearing heavy armor. And right stick, of course, is lock on. You will see me lock on to pretty much every enemy in the game because it's necessary. Oh, I absolutely love this game. I have been looking forward to doing this for such a long time. It's actually been a while since I recorded, and that is because I'm a terrible person, but more because I've been busy with real life. But now I'm here, and together we can rest at a bonfire. Yeah, bonfire. Now we've lit the bonfire, we can leave. Yay, okay, great. Bonfires, well, they do a variety of things, but they do heal you in your entirety. So let's go ahead and open these doors and just keep going because there's nothing else to do. La la la, nothing bad could happen. And what's this say? Get away. Oh, that's what you have to get away from. First enemy in Dark Souls, of course, wants to kill you, and we're done. I'm not actually going to let myself get killed with luck. I actually like to think that I'm kind of good at Dark Souls, but this Let's Play will likely prove all of my deficiencies. Sad for me. But get your shield. One thing the game has not mentioned yet is that bonfires, well, actually, we'll talk about that later. Because right now, I want to focus on something interesting about this game, and that is the fact that it forces you to defend before you can attack. It tells you to get your shield. This is very I don't want that there. I don't want that there at all. I want that there. This is very important because Dark Souls is immediately telling you defense is going to be way more important in this game than offense ever will be. And you really will do well to remember that, especially if you're going to play alongside me. And you should. This game is amazing. Go buy it, play it, and tell me about it. Tell me about your experience. And of course, we got our broadsword, so we actually have the weapons that we were promised at character creation. And we can start fighting properly. Always keep your shield up. Combat tip number 1 of a billion. White fog gates tend to have you pass through them, and we have more tutorial controls. B is backstep, extremely useful for dodging attacks that you don't want to block with your shield, and yes, you can backstep while blocking, though it will bring your block away, and you can roll. That was a running jump. Here's rolling. Now, our roll is currently a big fatty fat roll because we're wearing big fatty fat armor, which may not have been the best choice. I actually work better with higher mobility characters, but for a Let's Play, it's way more important. Now let's go ahead and... do you see that up there? If you don't, you should. That's the first time Dark Souls will kill most people. It's a big ball of screw you. And hey, look who it is. The guy who dropped a corpse in our cell.
Oh, you. You're no hollow. Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I were both undead. Hear me out, will you?
Well, you're only going to go insane. Sure.
Regrettably, I have failed in my mission. But perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family. Thou who art undead art chosen. And thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringest the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know. Well, now you know. And I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask. An undead favorite. Oh, and this. Now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
Oh, alright. And of course we have our Estus Flask. I will talk about that more later. Oh, okay, the game's going to tell you now. The Estus Flask heals you, and it has 5 charges, which will recharge whenever you use it at a bonfire. And that sound you just heard is our friend dying a horrible, miserable, awful death. Hooray for him. Now there are a couple of ways you can approach this. You can either go directly through the door, because that's the bonfire we were just at, or continue the tutorial training, which I will do, up these set of stairs. Actually, you might not be able to get back down, I don't remember. But regardless, Dark Souls is mostly a game about patience. It really is. So, oh yes, you can use Y to dual wield your weapons, and you can also kick enemies, which the game won't tell you is actually the best way to break defenses in the game, and jump attack, which is great. Resting at bonfires also respawns enemies. Again, extremely, extremely important information. So what you're going to see me do a lot is probably try and play this game as absolutely safe as I can. Because, well, why not? Read this message, you can do a plunging attack, that'll be important soon. And you can do a critical hit if you attack behind an enemy, and you can parry. Let's see if I can parry on camera. This is the first enemy that actually will hurt you. Alright, that's a parry. If you parry, you can do a critical kill and make blood just explode out of them in an awesome way. And we already got our first piece of loot, which is probably infinitely worse than the equipment I already have. At a glance, it is slightly better, but also slightly heavier. And as you can tell, we're already... weight does matter. A lot. So, let's traverse the white light. Lots of bad things can happen when you do this. This mostly has you spawn in on that demon that we were talking about earlier. Dark Souls is a game known for its boss fights, and this is the first one. Yes, this gigantic monstrosity. As I was saying before, always keep your shield up, especially in Dark Souls, because those hits will kill you. However, you're more than a match for this demon now that you have whatever weapons and armor you decide to start out with. And from there, it's a game of patience. Now, one thing you're going to want to do whenever you're playing is, or fighting bosses that is, and doing melee, is you want to keep your shield up until you get a good vantage point to attack. Now, you might see that I'm lowering my shield to regenerate my stamina. That is also very important. And also, of course, dual wield your, or two-hand your weapon when you're actually going to attack. Yes, this is a lot to keep track of, but basics of fighting Dark Souls bosses. You can probably see what I'm doing better than I can explain it to you. You can't dodge or block that. Now, there are basically two ways of playing Dark Souls. You can either try and block your way through, or you can try and dodge your way through. Blocking is, in my opinion, easier. And with that, the Asylum Demon is much more bark than bite, and he's dead. bosses do not respawn on death. So, that is our first boss. And let's open this door. Let's see what's out here. Those look like interesting stairs. But, if you want to see what's on those stairs, you're going to have to join me in the next one. Because stairs are great and awesome, and you love stairs. Until then, I'm going to rest at this bonfire, and I hope to see you in the next one.